everybody. Welcome back to What Are You Watching? The show where I bring on a guest and we get to talk about something they've been watching. I am very happy to say I have the one and only JTE tonight. How are you doing, my man?
What's up, Ben? I'm happy to be here, man. I love talking movies, and I love the fact that I can talk about a wide range of movies, not just what's in theaters, which
Yeah,
to me is
same
like,
here, man.
I love talking about the older stuff, the stuff I grew up with, and just different stuff, man. I was talking to you before we started recording. Like, I feel like the older I get, the more I go back to some of the older films. I want to watch the really great films. And honestly, I've been saying this for years. You're lucky if you get one amazing, great classic film a year. I think it's hard. There's years where you go a whole year and there's some good movies, some really good movies. But how often do you get one of those movies that is just going to stay with you for the rest of your life? I feel it's far and in between.
Wait, so what movie are you going to be talking about tonight?
There's multiple. We're going to start with a mid '90s movie that is not a classic. It's not a movie I put up there as one of the great films, but it's a very fun movie, and it's a movie I feel like we don't quite get today, and that's Arachnophobia, directed by Frank Marshall,
Ooh,
starring the one and only Jeff Daniels, John Goodman. It's basically a spider movie. It's about a movie where a deadly spider from like Africa is accidentally shipped to the small town USA. Jeff Daniel plays a new doctor in the town, and slowly but surely, his patients, people start dying because they're getting bit by these little spiders. The movie is very much a fun creature feature, but done in a realistic way. These aren't giant spiders like eight-legged freaks. This is just like a pest that has inhabited a household and then a town, and it's produced by Steven Spielberg, who works with Frank Marshall a bunch. It has that emblem logo right before the film, and to me, it was just one of those movies I saw as a kid in the '90s, where when I went to the theater, all I wanted was to have a really good time at the movies. And this movie really holds up really well because there aren't special effects, there aren't CG spiders. They use actual spiders. There's a little puppetry towards the end when they get to the bigger, like the Big Daddy spider. But overall, like they're using practical effects, and to me, that just makes it so much more timeless than some of the other films we watch.
wow. Yeah, I never seen that, but I have seen Eight Legged Freaks, and you know what? I have to say, I know it's awful, I know it's terrible, but man, I love that movie.
A lot of people love that movie, and that movie is a throwback to the 1950s movies or the 40s when they would make those black and white films with Empire of the Ants. So
Yeah,
to me, like at least they're paying homage to a older type of movie of a creature feature, whereas this was like a perfect example of Spielberg. You see Gremlins, he just had a great idea for a movie, and he's like, oh, let's explore this, and he gave it to Joe Dante. And with Arachnophobia, I think it's Jeff Daniels doesn't get enough credit as the leading man. A lot of times you see him as like Dumb and Dumber or some of the
right.
movies like Looper. He's always a great side character, but he really can hold a movie from the beginning.
I forgot he was in Looper. He plays
Yeah,
like the mob boss, right, or something?
yeah, he was like his mafia contact inside
Yeah,
the place. Also, a movie I really like from the mid 2000s, The Lookout with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He plays
okay.
Joseph Gordon. He plays Levitt's roommate who's blind. Again, he's such a good actor when it comes to being a character actor who's like a side character. But I feel like it's rare that you see him leading a film. Boy, it was back in the '90s and the late '80s. He led films and he did it really well.
Yeah, yeah. I love a good Chef Daniels movie. I love him in, well, of course, you love him in Dumb and Dumber, but also
Oh,
in
of course.
Pleasantville.
Yeah, Pleasantville's a
And
great one. Yeah. Again, but there's another. He's a great side character. He's a great actor. You could fit in those side roles, and he makes them better than it would be with maybe a lesser known actor. He is a leading man who could play the side character and elevate your movie. But I'm glad he was able to get these leading roles back in his earlier days. Also, he did a movie called Trial and Error with
yeah,
yes,
I
with
remember that with
Kramer.
Kramer.
Yeah, Michael
Kramer.
Richards. That there he's a co-lead, and the female lead in that one is actually Charlize Theron, the young Charlize Theron. Uh,
Oh shit, is it
so
really? Yeah.
yeah, she plays the love interest for Jeff Daniels. So again, there's the movie like it's not Dumb and Dumber, it's not nowhere near that, but a fun movie that he co-stars with Michael Richards. That's a movie that I feel like has nobody ever brings up, but in my brain, I think about it all the time.
That movie is kind of like that Tim Allen movie with Kirstie Alley, for Richard and
Oh,
Fuller.
Christy Alley and that's a tough one. Trying to think,
That's the
is
one
it
where
Joe
they're
somebody?
like,
Joe somebody?
no, one
What's it
for
called?
Richard and Fuller.
Oh yeah, where they're like trying to be Amish people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, I never saw that. I missed that one. I guess Tim Allen was a huge draw for me outside of Toy Story. Now I remember seeing the original Santa Claus. Love that movie as a kid, but I missed that one for Richard Report, him and Christy Alley.
It's worth watching. I haven't watched it in years, but it's worth a watch.
I mean, if I go for like an Amish comedy, I would probably go Kingpin with Randy
Right.
Quaid,
Yep.
Woody Harrelson. Like to me, I wonder if those came out around the same time or not, because I don't know why the Amish, between Weird Al Yankovic doing Amish Paradise and those two movies, it feels like there was some sort of weird Amish like theme going on in Hollywood at some point.
Maybe they were trying to sneak into the Amish. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Witness started it all, but that was a serious movie. That was a serious Harrison Ford movie. And then they said, "All right, we're gonna make fun of these people, make some comedies."
I love Witness. He's so good in that, isn't he?
So good. I think he was nominated for that. I think it's one of the few times Ford was actually nominated for anything.
I mean, yeah. That was Elijah Wood in that, isn't it? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember. Does he play a little kid in it? I think he might play a little kid in that movie. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't seen Witness in a long time, actually. That's one of those I need to revisit.
What's another movie you want to bring up?
Let's see. What else have I dug into? I'll go with a more recent movie. I was not a huge fan of Thor: Love and Thunder, and I wanted to give it another chance at home. So I only saw it in theaters once.
Okay.
And I was not a huge fan. I very on the same wavelength of Christian Harloff. He said it was just a little too goofy. It felt like a spoof, and that the tone was all off. And I watched it at home. I picked up the 4K Blu-ray on sale for like $15. And there are things to enjoy in it. I think the first 15 minutes are probably the best part of the movie for me. The whole Guardians of the Galaxy, him kind of running around, finding out about Jane. But I still think the problems I had when I watched it the first time are still there. I can't take any of the serious moments too serious because they're not given any room to breathe. Anytime it gets really dramatic, it's immediately undercut by like a weird, goofy joke or somebody not taking the movie as seriously. I thought Ragnarok was a perfect balance of that Taika goofiness, but it still was badass, and there were consequences and things happened. Now, this movie does deal with death in a very serious way, and it just contradicts with how goofy he goes. It's just like it pushes one way to the other really fast.
I wonder if it suffered from not having Loki in the movie. It was the only full movie without Loki.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, Loki's great. I loved Loki's show. I don't know. I think this could have been successful. I just think Taika just went too goofy with it. It felt like a lot of people keep saying it feels like a spoof of like other Thor movies. Like I need some gravitas. I need some consequences and stakes. And nothing. There was no stakes in this movie because everything was just played so loosey goosey and funny.
Well, what did you think of Doctor Strange? I'm curious.
I really like Doctor Strange. I do. You can tell they had to rewrite stuff because of COVID, and because it wasn't supposed to come out in the order it did, and it does feel a little bit like they made it up a little bit as they went. But you know what also did that? Jon Favreau was the first Iron Man, so that can't be done successfully. Whereas I don't think you feel that in Iron Man. I think you do feel it in Doctor Strange. But I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan, and seeing his fingerprints all over the movie, it's so good to see a film. The reason why I love Ragnarok is because you felt like that was a Taika movie that was merged, and married with a Marvel movie. Whereas Thor Ragnarok just felt more like a Taika movie. I feel like this was a great blend of Sam Raimi and Marvel, a marriage of those two things come together, not being too Sam Raimi and not too Marvel, kind of middle of the road. So I thought it really worked for me. I really dug it. But if you're not a big Sam Raimi fan and you're not if you're not into his style and tone, I can understand if you didn't really like it as much.
It had a great cameo.
Oh, hell yeah. Loved it.
Are you a fan of the Evil Dead movies?
Yes, love Evil Dead 2. That's one of my all-time favorite horror. I mean, it's a horror movie, but obviously has a lot of
Yeah.
comedic elements. When people ask me like, "What's your number one Halloween movie?" I usually go Evil Dead 2. I
Yeah.
love the fact that Sam Raimi made it with like no money, and he literally had to use the tools and imagination of filmmaking to make a small movie feel like it was made for not a lot more, but it has a certain energy that I feel like a movie that was just shot in order and with a certain kind of budget. It didn't feel it felt special when you first watch it. The first Evil Dead I haven't watched as much, and I don't enjoy as much because I feel like that when you talk about somebody who's working like on a super low budget, that's what that movie is. It's very gory. There's some fun stuff in there, but I feel like Evil Dead 2, it's not really a sequel. It's a remake. It's
Yeah.
almost like him saying, "Hey, I did a really good job of that first movie, but if you give me more tools, I can make a better movie." And he just made a better version of his first film, I feel like. Whereas Army of Darkness is a direct sequel. And Army of Darkness is 90% comedy and
Oh yeah.
10% horror. Whereas Evil Dead 2, I feel like, is a great marriage. I think it's 50-50 of each. So I think Evil Dead 2 is my favorite because it's a perfect balance. Whereas Army of Darkness, kind of like Thor, kind of like the third Thor movie or the fourth Thor movie, they just kind of went spoof and went really funny with it.
Well, couldn't you also call it a time travel movie?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Which I love that element too. And the funny thing is, the end of Evil Dead 2, he gets a white streak in his hair right
Yeah.
before he goes through the portal, and then the third one is just not there. It's like they decided, let's pretend that didn't happen. So it's funny. The continuity may not be the best, but I still love Army of Darkness because I grew up watching as a kid. You just have to know going in, it is a comedy first and foremost.
Yeah.
Whereas like Evil Dead 2 to this day has moments that are creepy, freak me out. That doesn't happen in Army of Darkness.
And Bruce Campbell is a king of one-liners, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I love all the Evil Dead video games because they would just take his dialogue from the movies, and as you're just killing these zombies, or deadites, he just throws out these lines. He's basically Elvis with a chainsaw, and I love it.
Did
And he
you
played,
see Momo Hotep?
yeah, and he played Elvis in Bubba Hotep,
Yep.
which I rewatched Bubba Hotep the night before I went and saw the new Elvis movie in theaters.
Oh
Because I was
wow.
just to get myself in the Elvis headspace, because that was probably my favorite Elvis performance before the Austin Butler film. I love Bubba Hotep.
How is that new Elvis movie? I haven't seen
I
it yet.
I really liked it, but you have to be on Baz Luhrmann's
Right.
wavelength. If you don't like Baz Luhrmann, I don't think you'll like the film. If you like Baz Luhrmann, you know what his style and his pacing is like, I think you'll enjoy the film. Austin Butler, I think, regardless, does give a really good performance.
And he really sings in that movie, right? It really him.
So it's a mix. Some songs he does sing on his own, and some of the songs are just Elvis, him kind of lip syncing to Elvis. So it's a mix of both.
Yeah. You know, well, I have to ask, how many times have you seen Top Gun Maverick this year?
I think I only saw it twice, actually.
Really?
I saw it once in theaters, and then I wanted to go see it again. And by the time I was ready to go see it again, they had taken it out of IMAX.
Oh,
And I
okay.
didn't want to go see it unless it was in Dolby or IMAX. So I waited, and then there was like one weekend where they put it back in IMAX, but I was like super busy, so I couldn't go. So at that point, I said, you know what? I have a projector. I have a 120-inch screen. I have a Dolby Atmos surround sound bar. So the second time I watched it was at home. The weekend the Blu-ray came out, I threw in my 4K. And I watched it like the first night I got it. So I see it twice. And recently I saw it. I think it came out like a week ago. So I just watched it.
So what are your thoughts about it? Are you in that camp where you like it more than the original?
I think it's a better. Here's the thing. I think it's a better film than the first movie. It's better made, just technology wise. I do think it's a better. I think I do like it more than the first film. I think the first film, rewatching it before watching Maverick, you forget how much of that movie is dedicated to the love story.
Yeah.
It's really heavy. Like it's. I would almost say it's like 60% love story, 40% air fighting and Top Gun. So this movie, and I'm an action guy. I feel like this movie is just more about the flying, the Top Gun school, the mission, and I think the stakes are higher in this film also because of the way they break down the mission for you, and as you're seeing them train for this mission, which is basically a suicide mission. So I think the new one does pretty much everything the first one does as good, but improves it in a lot of ways. So I would give the edge to Maverick.
And you can tell Tom Cruise just had a blast making it with all those
Oh yeah.
guys.
Oh, I watched all the making of special features. He had the time of his life.
How good was Miles Teller and Grant Powell in that movie? Both of those guys.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's Iceman. He's Hangman, but he's basically Iceman. It's funny, like sometimes when you do these legacy sequels, you want to be similar to the original, but at the same time you want to also make a new path. So it's not just a clone copy. A lot of people complain the new Ghostbusters relied a little bit too much on the original film, and I agree with that when it comes to the third act. But I liked everything leading up to that, so I was willing to give it a pass. I think Top Gun Maverick is kind of Top Gun Maverick and Creed are the two legacy sequels. I think are the perfect example of giving people what they want who love the originals, but also advancing the story and making it new and fresh.
I'll also throw in one more, Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai 2, yes. For a TV series, yes, I agree.
That season with Terry Silver, oh my god,
I love
that
Terry
was chef's kiss.
And I was so happy to see Mike Barnes back too. I grew up watching the Karate Kid movies. I never thought they would get to the point where we would see Terry Silva or Mike Barnes. Once I saw Chosen, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. Now it's a possibility. We might be getting these other guys, and it's like we got Elizabeth Shue. We got to get Hilary Swank in there at some point. Hilary Swank.
Do you think she'll be there next season?
If they keep going like they're going, how could she not? They're running out of movies to reference.
I want Michael Ironside to come back. Yeah, can we get Ironside back?
Hell yeah, bring him in, man. I love Ironside.
I love him in the Starship Troopers. That's another good movie, right?
Love Starship Troopers. Yep, I have the 4K. That's a movie I saw in theaters. I was, a young man. I remember watching it in theaters, and the satire just kind of went over my head when I was a kid. I just wanted to see giant bugs and machine guns and explosions. And my appreciation for that movie has grown so much as I've gotten older, and once I've realized what Paul Verhoeven was actually doing. I love that movie.
Yeah, he made good movies back in the day. That, RoboCop.
He did, RoboCop, Total Recall are like the two big ones. And then Starship Troopers, Showgirls, obviously, was a lot of people like it now, but back in the day, it was seen as a huge failure. Basic Instinct, I rewatched not that long ago, and that still really holds up really well.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, that's him. He did the first one, Basic Instinct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He did a film in the 2000s called Black Book, which I really enjoyed.
Who's in that?
Nobody really famous. It's not in English. He shot it in Germany, but it's about a girl who goes undercover. A girl's family is basically killed in the beginning, very similar to Glorious Bastards. And she goes undercover and starts working for the Nazis to help the resistance. And it's a really good Paul Verhoeven movie because it has all his signature violence, nudity, sex scenes, and more violence. That's what Paul Verhoeven does. The main actress played Melisandre in Game of Thrones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know what her name is, but when I saw Game of Thrones and she showed up, my first thought was, oh my gosh, the girl from Black Book. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's a film I always recommend to people because I feel like it's kind of under the radar.
Is it streaming anywhere? Do you know?
I don't know. I own the Blu-ray, so
right.
But it might be. Yeah, just Google, see if it might be streaming somewhere. I hope it is. It's a really good film, and I've shown it to several people who have never even heard of it, and they all really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely if you guys like Paul Verhoeven, check out Black Book. It's a good World War II spy thriller by Paul Verhoeven.
Speaking of spy thriller, are you watching Andor on Disney Plus?
I saw the first 2 episodes, and then I decided to stop because I usually go week to week with a lot of shows, but
Okay.
for me, it felt like a show I would rather binge.
Okay.
So I stopped after the first 2 episodes, which I really enjoyed. Actually, you know what? I saw the first 3.
Okay.
So I watched the first 3 and I said, they're short. They're shorter episodes. They're like 30 to 35 minutes, some of them. And some go
Yeah.
longer, like 40, 45.
Right.
But I don't know. I just felt like, you know what? I'm going to wait and binge this. I think the last episode's coming up, right?
Yeah. Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And next Tuesday going into Wednesday.
So I will probably binge the rest of the series in like a weekend once it's
Right.
done. But I hear it's
What
great.
did you? Hmm?
I hear it's great. Everyone seems
Yeah.
to be loving
Oh,
it.
and some of the best stuff I've seen in a while. Talking about the Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Were you a fan of Obi-Wan?
I was so on it. It felt like to me like they would build a set, and that's where that episode would take place. They're like, all right, we're building a city set. Let's have the whole episode take place in that city. All right, let's build this one set. Let's have the whole episode take place on that set. I like Star Wars because it jumps around, like it's an adventure, and it just I felt the mechanics of it, and I think it was too long. It could have been. I think it could have been a better movie. I think it could have
Mm-hmm.
been like a really good 2.5 hour film. I don't think it had to be as long as it was, but there was some really cool stuff in it.
I kind of love that Vader Obi-Wan fight at the
Oh,
end,
so
man.
good, yeah.
That was some of the best lightsaber fights.
But do you find it takes away a little bit of Vader's badass? Because like when you see New Hope, Vader before we all right, so take the prequels and the original trilogy. We
Okay.
saw Vader become Vader, and once he becomes Vader, he kills everybody. Order 66. He fights Obi-Wan in that epic fight, survives, becomes Darth Vader. Then we don't see him again until Obi-Wan's an old man. And he is just the baddest mofo in the galaxy. And now knowing that halfway through those trilogies that he got beat by Obi-Wan, it kind of takes away a little bit for me how badass Vader was. Because to me, what made Vader so dangerous and threatening in that original trilogy is that you couldn't imagine anybody defeating him until Luke Skywalker, because he was the chosen one and he was just as powerful as his father. For Obi-Wan to defeat him like that, and kind of like in between, I think it kind of reduces the badass level of Vader a little bit. It takes a little bit away from the villain, but that's just my opinion.
I haven't thought of it like that, but maybe you're right. I can see that. I could see that point of view.
Yeah.
Well, have you been watching any interesting shows lately?
What have I been watching show wise? So I've never seen Cheers with Ted Danson.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's one of those shows I just never saw reruns. I was too young to watch it when it originally aired.
Right.
So I have Peacock, and I think there's 10 or 11 seasons.
11.
11. So I said, you know what? I got nothing but time. And the episodes are like 22, 23 minutes. It's something I could throw on whenever you sit down, and sometimes people will sit down and they'll spend a half an hour just deciding what to watch.
Right.
And then by the time you figure it out, you're too tired to watch a movie, so you just see what's on cable or YouTube TV. So lately, what I do is if I sit down and I don't know what to watch, I just throw on an episode of Cheers, and I'm on season 4 right now.
Okay.
About halfway through season 4.
What do you think?
I'm really enjoying it, but I also could tell like what the show was in the early seasons. It's the early mid 80s.
Right.
The humor hasn't quite caught up to the shows I would watch in the 90s, like Seinfeld and Friends.
Right.
So I see it's gotten better, I think, with just about every season. And I feel like the comedy is now starting to becoming a little bit more mature, and it's getting closer to what I think. I think as it gets into the 90s, it's becoming the humor is coming a little bit more my brand, and I think it's becoming a little bit sharper. Like Frasier doesn't come in until I think season 3.
Yes.
So
yeah.
and he's kind of like a side character who's dating Shelley Long, and now he's just somebody who comes in the bar. And I'm like, okay, Woody Harrelson just got introduced in season 4, so I feel like I'm getting to where I want it to be, and I'm curious to see if it just gets better and better as it goes.
Are you going to watch Frasier after Cheers?
Yeah, I might because I heard they're going to bring it back. They're
Yeah.
saying, yeah. So I saw that news and I said, well, I may as well when I finish Cheers, which I still have like 7 more seasons. I might just jump right over to Frasier and give that a shot.
And I know it's blasphemy. Me personally, I actually prefer Frasier over
Really?
Cheers.
And I
Yeah.
heard characters from Cheers show up in the Frasier show.
Yes, they do.
So there you go. I'm getting the Cheers multiverse going. I'm excited
Yeah,
for it.
it is like a shared little universe.
Yeah, I know. So
That and what was
spin-offs,
the
man.
one show about the airplanes, the airport?
The Wings?
Wings.
Yeah. Do people from Cheers show up in that too?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
all one. It's one shared universe.
Who's the connection in those 2 shows?
Frasier.
He shows up in Wings?
Frasier shows up on Wings on an episode.
Oh my god! All right, well, I probably won't watch Wings, but we'll find out one episode. I'll watch.
I always send you the title because it's funny.
Yeah, I'll watch Cheers, then I'll switch to Frasier, then I'll find out one episode of Wings where Frasier shows up, and then hopefully I'll be ready for the new Frasier show because I'll be caught up on both.
Sadly, not everyone is going to be back because there's one cast member who we lost.
Yeah, the
years
father.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
father. I know, but I still have the original show to watch, so I'll be able to catch him on it. And he has a dog.
Right. The dog is so cute on that show.
I'm excited to finish Cheers, but it's nice to know when I finish it, I can just jump. Frasier won a lot of Emmys. It won a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't darling. It was like every year.
It dominated. And while I didn't watch Cheers growing up, I did watch an episode or 2 of Frasier. Like I didn't watch it every week, but I definitely saw a couple episodes, and I remember liking the couple episodes I saw. So it'll be interesting to watch it from the beginning and to see how it connects to Cheers.
Yeah. What's another? And you mentioned Seinfeld. Were you a big Seinfeld fan?
Oh man, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's like one of my top 5 favorite shows ever. I watch an episode. I watch on TV. Like if there's a Seinfeld on cable, I have YouTube TV, so I go through the channels. And if there's Seinfeld, I usually just throw it on there. If I'm cleaning the house or I'm busy doing something, I'll just throw Seinfeld on the background. And I love Curb too.
Oh, I love Curb.
Love Curb, love Seinfeld.
Do you have a favorite
Seinfeld? People say, "Are you a Friends or a Seinfeld guy?" I'm a Seinfeld guy.
I used to be a Friends guy, but then I became a Seinfeld guy.
Nice.
So like,
you made it to the right side.
I feel like you have to start with Friends to graduate with Seinfeld. Does that make sense?
I like Friends. I remember watching it. I didn't watch it religiously. Like Seinfeld, I watched religiously. I watched every episode. Friends, I watched, but like if I missed an episode, I was okay with it. And I haven't gone back and rewatched Friends. I just don't really have the desire. The comedy is so much more broad for me. Whereas Seinfeld, I feel like is a more elevated, smarter comedy. And that's just where I want to go. Friends just feels like something, it's more comfort food for people. Whereas Seinfeld, I think, is some of the best writing, acting. Seinfeld's just, today, it's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode of Seinfeld?
Do I have a favorite episode?
Yeah.
I think the episode where they mimic JFK with the whole spinning with Mike Piazza.
Yes.
That's definitely up there. I love the episode where Kramer and Newman try to collect as many cans as they can, and they try to jump states in order. I mean, there's so many. The one where Jerry is dating a girl and he wants to make the switch to the roommate, and him and I mean, there's so many great moments. Yeah, it's hard to pick one, but those are some of my favorites for sure.
I think my favorite is a contest.
I mean, yeah, that's considered one of the best episodes of like TV ever.
And that is my top 5 favorite TV episodes.
So and a similar one to that one I also really like is where Jerry has a girl that lives across the building and she's nude. And and he's like, it ruins his life. And he tells Kramer, he's like, I got to go tell her to put on some clothes. I can't concentrate. And Kramer's like, are you kidding me? Every boy looks out a window and wishes there was a naked woman out there, and you have it, and you're gonna just throw it away. And like classic Michael Richards, classic. Yeah, there's a lot of great episodes, man. I'm trying to think what I love. Seinfeld does this thing where they would have a part 1 and part 2, where
Yeah.
like it would end on a cliffhanger, and then next week it would pick up right where it left off. And I loved when they did that because it felt like a little movie or something.
The best cliffhanger episode, I think it's on JFK one, is
The JFK
when
one?
Jerry is on the. No, Kramer answers the phone in Jerry's apartment.
Yeah.
But it's for Art Vandelay.
Art
And
Vandelay.
George
Art
is in the
Vandelay.
bathroom.
Art
He comes
Vandelay.
rushing in.
Yeah, he's like his pants down. Yeah, that's amazing.
And Jerry had the best button. And you want to be my latex salesman.
Yeah, 100%. I watch. Sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll just watch Seinfeld bloopers. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like 30 minutes long for each season because they were having such a good time, and the material was so funny, man, that they were constantly breaking. I love watching
Most
that
of it is improv, too.
Yeah,
Like, and you want to be my latex salesman. That was made up on the spot. Nobody came up with that beforehand.
I mean, to see the way Michael Richards incorporates the physical comedy, also, you'll see him do different takes, and he'll do different things, and everyone on that show was just so perfectly cast. Like,
Right.
you can't imagine anybody else. Oh, another one of my favorite episodes, or a string of episodes, is when they want to make a sitcom based on their life, and Jeremy Piven plays as George.
Yes.
I mean, I thought, and then the actor who's like playing Kramer's like, I should play me. I mean, just grade A, top shelf stuff.
Okay, very important question I have for you.
Okay.
Did he take the raisins?
Yeah, I think so. 100% he did. Yeah, no doubt. I love that. And it's funny, then you get to Curb Your Enthusiasm. Remember, like, there's an episode where his order gets mixed up with one of the HBO guys, and
Yes.
there's missing shrimp, and he's
Yes.
like, "Did you take that shrimp?" He's like, "You ate that shrimp." Like, when I see that, it reminds me of the Raisin episode, and you can see the DNA of Larry David in Seinfeld and in Curb and how similar they are. Curb's just Seinfeld but R-rated.
Exactly. And George Costanza.
I mean,
It's just Larry David, only a TV version.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love it.
I can
And then
talk about-
getting the Seinfeld reunion, but instead of getting an actual reunion, you got it through the Curb show. Was like
That's
so-
the only way you knew it. That's
It
the
is
only
genius.
way you knew it.
and we got like a 5-minute clips of like a new Seinfeld episode. It was amazing, and it was referencing stuff that Larry did in this show. I mean, I think Larry David's a genius. Curb and Seinfeld are two of my all-time favorite shows, and they're amazing.
And then I forget who had a guest spot in that reunion.
There's a lot of guest spots.
In the reunion, Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, that's right. She played the
Yeah.
the ex-wife of George. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, they can't do like a revival of that now, can they?
I think Curb did it so well. Like, what? I just don't think you should. At this point, they're all doing their own thing. It's a product of its time. I think Curb is the great, brother show to it. Curb is Seinfeld for today. Seinfeld was Seinfeld for the 90s, and I think some things belong in their time period. And I think Seinfeld was perfect for that time period.
It is like if you don't see more of Michael Richards.
Yeah, he got in some trouble.
Yeah.
But it was good to see him. That's why, it was good to see him in that Curb Enthusiasm season because he got to see that old school Michael Richards. Hey, we always have trial and error.
Yeah.
We can always go back and watch that. He's also in Problem Child, but he's not very funny.
Right.
He's the bad guy.
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, and he's in
Is
Weird
that
Al's
one of
movie,
your
too.
is that one of your favorites from that time?
I mean, I don't think it's one of my favorites, but it's definitely a movie I watched as a kid a lot. I used to watch Problem Child 1 and 2 when I was younger. I haven't seen 1 or 2 in I don't know, maybe 15 years. I'll have to see if they're streaming anywhere and give them a try. I like John Ritter. So like seeing him is great, and so yeah, but I did love Problem Child 1 and 2 as a kid. I just haven't seen them in so long. There's a lot of
Yeah,
movies. I will say this. So I'm a big physical media guy. I got a whole shelf of Blu-rays.
nice.
We've gotten to the point now with Blu-rays that they are going deep into the bin of movies. Like before, when Blu-rays and 4K started, you would get Goodfellas. You're gonna get Lawrence of Arabia. But now we're getting movies like Men at Work with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, which is a movie I watched 100 times growing up. That
Oh,
movie that movie's coming out next month, and I already pre-ordered the Blu-ray because I love that movie. Uh, the Johnny Depp film Nick of Time from the '90s with Christopher Walken.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So it's a really good movie. It's one of Jeff Snyder's favorite films.
Okay,
Um, it's about a 90-minute film, and the whole movie takes place in real time, kind of like 24.
okay.
And the guy who produced the show 24 produced this film also.
Oh,
So
wow.
he took his idea and he made this movie Nick of Time, and he took that idea and he turned it into a TV show, which was 24. So I recommend checking out Nick of Time. But that's a movie not a lot of people know about, and they finally just released it on Blu-ray like a month ago because they've gotten to the point where they're looking for like these cult classics that not a lot of people are begging for, but they know we're running out of movies to print on Blu-rays, so we're digging in. Like another film that I recently bought was Let It Ride with Richard Dreyfuss.
Okay,
It's a movie that came out in the late '80s. It's a film that I absolutely love. Christian Harloff, it's one of his favorite films, and I've had that DVD for like 15 years, and it just hit Blu-ray this year, and I picked it up immediately
and it's
because
good.
I love it. Have you ever seen the movie Quick Change with Bill Murray?
No, well,
So the movie Quick Change, which is also directed by Bill Murray, it stars Gina Davis and Randy Quaid.
okay,
It's a great '80s comedy. It might be actually 1990, 1991, but
okay,
it's one of my favorite comedies, and it's based on a book from this author who also wrote the book which Let It Ride is based on. So
gotcha.
if you're out there and you want to watch two really good comedies starring Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, check out Let It Ride and Quick Change. And because they're both based on books from the same author, they have very similar comedy, very similar vibes. And when you watch them back to back, you could feel the author's style of dialogue and comedy for both films. So, like, even though they're two totally different films, they're probably made by different studios. I think one's Warner Brothers, I think one's Paramount. They're both based on one author's work, and you could feel it in the so I feel like if you like one of those movies, you will like the other because they're so similar in tone and style.
Let me ask you this: do you think they, even though they're not, they didn't feel like a shared universe between those two?
Mm-hmm. Are they shared universe? No.
I mean, they didn't feel like one world between those two movies.
Well, one takes place in New York, and one takes place in I don't know if it's New York. So Let It Ride all takes place in one day at
Okay,
a racetrack, and Quick Change all takes place in one day in New York, and they're trying to catch a plane. It's almost like plane, trains, automobiles, but except for like they're just stuck in New York for a day, and they have to try to get to the airport. And Let It Ride all takes place in one day at a racetrack. What makes the
okay,
film really one thing I think that when you watch both films that you'll notice is while yes you have Bill Murray and you have Richard Dreyfuss, you have like they're two great lead comedic actors, but both films are great side characters. All the side characters feel like they live their own lives. They feel like fully developed characters. They're all really funny, and those side characters are really what make both movies for me. While I love Bill Murray in the film and Gina Davis and Randy Quaid, it's all the characters they meet along the way throughout the movie that kind of makes it really funny. And Richard Dreyfuss, while he's at this racetrack for the day, it's all the different characters he meets and interacts with while at the racetrack that really makes that movie. So I feel like this author just is really good at creating side characters who are
right.
interesting and funny and complement the lead actor. So I think when you watch both those movies, you'll understand what I'm saying. But you got to watch them.
Kind of, I know it's nothing like this, but it kind of sounds like a little like Rat Race, where
I love Rat
all
Race.
the
So
characters are so funny.
Rat Race is yes, Rat Race is like I think Let It Ride might be PG-13, but I know Quick Change is rated R.
Okay,
So they're definitely more for adult audience. Whereas I like Rat Race, but it is a PG-13 movie with like Cuba Gooding Jr. and all these. That movie is much more silly, where I
okay,
feel like the characters and the comedy in those other two films, while they are silly, but they're more silly in a more adult way, I guess you would say.
nice.
I want you to watch both those movies and I want you to tell me what you think. Quick Change and Let It Ride.
I will. Quick change and then it right. I'll watch both of those and I'll let you know.
Awesome. I love it.
And I know Christmas is coming up, so are you getting ready to watch Die Hard again?
Yeah, I always watch Die Hard. I like Die Hard 2. I think people forget Die Hard 2 takes place on Christmas also.
Yeah,
And it's more snowy. I would almost argue that Die Hard 2 might be not the better Die Hard movie, because I think Die Hard is better than Die Hard 2. But I think Die Hard 2 might be the better Christmas Die Hard movie. It's
yeah.
snowing. There's a lot of Christmas tree. Like, it just feels more Christmassy, the movie. Whereas like Die Hard, it said it's Christmas, but they're in the building the whole time, like just terrorists. And there's the ho ho ho, I have a machine gun. But you actually watch Die Hard 2 and it feels more Christmassy to me. So why not go? You know what? If you're watching, go with Die Hard 2 this year instead of Die Hard. Switch it up. Alternate.
I will.
Alternate. 1 year.
I also like, I know this isn't a Christmas one, but I love Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, that's the second best one. Yeah. But it's not a Christmas movie. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
For me, it goes Die Hard, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard 2, Live Free or Die Hard, and I don't even want to count the fifth film because I think it's garbage.
okay, you're nicer than me. I don't count 4. I
I
didn't
could
count the top 3.
if Part 4 wasn't called Die Hard, it was just called like Power Outage. I think I would enjoy it as just a regular action movie. What makes it a bad Die Hard movie is it's called Die Hard. It doesn't really feel like Die Hard, but I still think it's a pretty decent action film.
Yeah, I get that. It kind of, yeah, and we don't get enough of those action movies anymore, do we?
Nope. Those days are gone, my friend. It's all comic book movies now.
Are
You know
you?
what? John Wick is like holding the mantle right now. It's keeping it
Oh,
alive. It
that John Wick trailer, man. What did you think of that?
looks amazing. They seem to be with every film. They're looking better on a technical level. Like
Yeah,
you watch this next trailer and it looks beautiful. You can tell maybe that's just the budget getting bigger, also. But I've liked every John Wick film. I think a little bit more. I don't know. I think 3 is the best, and I can make an argument for 1 or 2 being the second best, but they're pretty close in my assumption. But 3 to me, I think is the best of the 3.
for me, I like 1, 3, and 2 in that order.
Got it. Okay. See, I think the first one is 90% gunplay. Not very. There's very little hand to hand combat in the first movie. The
Right.
second one feels almost a little bit more hand to hand, and there's still a lot of gunplay. I feel maybe a little bit more balanced. Whereas the third one, I think, has all the gunplay and all the hand to hand action you could ask for in a John Wick movie. It gives you both of those first 2 movies like times 10.
And I'm sorry, I'm still waiting for an Alex Winter cameo in every new one. I'm waiting
Yeah,
for him to show up
yeah.
as somebody.
As somebody like you don't care who it
Yeah,
is, like just show up.
yeah,
You know, I always forget
yeah,
that Defoe's in the first film too. By the way, like you forget William Defoe was in that first movie sometimes.
yeah.
Like they got a really good actor right from the beginning.
They, everybody, it might be Keanu. Everybody loves working with him. They
Yeah,
seem like the coolest guy.
he's the best. He sounds like he's the best person ever.
I want a movie with Keanu and Ryan Reynolds. That would
Are
break
you
the
a big
internet.
Ryan Reynolds fan?
Yeah, huge.
Ah, okay, didn't
Uh,
know that. Interesting.
Are
Good to
you?
know. I like him. I don't think I would say I'm a big fan of his, but I do like him. I think I like him when the material is perfect. Like Deadpool is perfect for him.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of anybody else better for Deadpool. But I didn't love the Adam Project, so I didn't love that, and I didn't love Free Guy either. But I don't really.
Really,
I don't,
I love Free
I know.
Guy. I
I know.
think that
I'm in the minority on that one. It's not that they're bad movies. I just think they're okay movies, and I don't blame him. I think it's more the director
right.
because I just didn't love either of those movies. But I don't think they're bad either.
So you must not be looking forward to Deadpool 3 because the director of
I
Free Guy,
know Sean Levy.
yeah,
I am excited only because I don't think David Leitch is a very good director, and I still like
okay,
Deadpool too.
okay.
So I think Ryan Reynolds is he has such a hold on that character and that franchise. I think he's probably in more control than even the director at times. So I'm excited.
And let's not forget who's coming back in Deadpool 3.
Hugh Jackman's back, so I'm there no matter what.
Yeah, like, who thought he would ever come back?
I didn't. I thought it was over, man. And you know what? Some people are like, "Oh, you should just stay away." Hell no. I mean, like, if you told me they found a long lost Christopher Reeve Superman movie, I'd be like, "Give it to me right now." I wouldn't be like, "Oh no, I don't need another one." No, I would love it. I love that. I love him as that character, so I'll take whatever I can get.
I will say this, Logan, the movie, was the best Wolverine we have ever seen.
100%.
You know, I don't know. The continuity doesn't really matter with that Deadpool movie, so, like,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
we bring it on. Like, I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not like it's. I don't feel like it's gonna ruin Logan because I don't feel like they're playing within the rules
Right.
of like he Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. He can literally go into the movie Logan and yank them out for all I care. Like doesn't matter to me.
Oh, God, that would be so funny.
Yeah, so I'm on board.
Well, thank you, man. This has been fun. Any other last movies you wanted to bring up real quick?
Let me see if there's anything else. I guess the last thing I'll say is I was talking earlier how like they're making Blu-rays of older films that I love now. They
Right.
have yet to release Captain Ron on Blu-ray.
Really?
I'm a big Kurt Russell fan, and I feel like I'm one of the few people who there are fans out there of Captain Ron. Have you ever seen Captain Ron?
No, how about this?
Okay, you haven't seen it?
No.
Okay, well, it's just Martin Short is the star of the movie. Him and his family inherit a boat that they have to sail across like the Caribbean or whatever, and they hire Kurt Russell as Captain Ron, and it's just a good '90s comedy that's like dumb but fun. Kurt Russell is so good in it. I think a lot of people think Kurt Russell. You kind of think of his action type roles, Tango and Cash, but he always brings that humor. He started off with Robert Zemeckis and Used Cars, which was a comedy. And I think he's just underrated when it comes to his comedic timing, his comedic presence. Well, I don't think Captain Ron is like an amazing movie. It is a movie I just personally love. It's like a comfort film for me. So
Right.
I would love to see a Blu-ray release of Captain Ron. I watch it all the time. It's just a good comfort movie. What's a comfort movie for you?
Oh, yeah, a good comfort movie. Probably Ferris Bueller. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's a
gonna
great
lie.
one. Yeah, Ferris
I
Bueller's great.
love that movie.
It's so good. Oh yeah, I love Ferris Bueller.
It's probably in my top 15 of all time. If I really had to sit down and think about it.
It's one of the best movies about a high school kid ever, for sure.
Yeah. Like, and that parade scene, man. You can't beat that parade scene, right?
Yeah. Oh, the parade scene's amazing. I love. I don't like musicals really, but I love when a good musical number comes out of nowhere. When the movie doesn't have like so, and especially the way they play it, like he's part of the parade, and it just cuts to people in Chicago dancing. It's just a feel good movie. So I totally understand why you call it a comfort film because it just feels good when you watch it.
And one can say my favorite movie of all time is a comfort movie, Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, I mean it's an all time great. It's
Yeah.
when people ask me like what's a perfect film, that's one of the perfect movies.
Yeah.
And Tarantino said the same thing recently.
Really?
They asked Tarantino like what are some of the perfect films, and he said obviously it's subjective, and he said like Jaws, he said Back to the Future, He said the Wild Bunch. I'm not sure. I can't remember. He said like 6 or 7, but Back to the
Right.
Future was on that list, and I agree with him. There's not a single thing I would change.
Yeah, me neither. It is. Yeah, it's a perfect movie and a perfect trilogy for me. All that is for me, but yeah,
The third one too. You like Back to the Future 3?
yeah.
I like it too, but it's not as good as the first two, in my
No, I know,
Okay.
but I have fun with it, man. I have
Yeah. Oh,
fun
of
with it.
course.
It
You cannot
is
if you have Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd together. There's no way you're not going to have fun. Like
right.
no way. So I totally understand.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
Well, this is usually where I'll say you can follow me on Twitter, but it seems like a lot of people seem to be acting like that thing's going to be gone in the next 24 hours. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It might go away for a day or two. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll shut down for a week, but it'll be back. It's too big to go away. So
I,
find me
I'm
on
not, I'm not
Twitter.
having I'm not having popcorn watching everyone panicking. You know.
I know it's like I understand like it might go, but like until it's gone, I'm not going to believe it.
Right.
Until I turn my phone on and it's not there and it's not working. And even if it goes away, I bet it goes away for a few days, maybe a week, and then they'll get it back up and running. It's too big, it's too ingrained into society for it to just go away.
Yeah.
So at JTE Movie Things on Twitter. That's where you can find
Perfect.
me.
And you guys, you can find me all over the channel every day, basically. We'll be back next week with yeah. So we'll see you next week, but thanks for tuning in and have a good one. Bye.